today's lesson is about VTP, Virtual Trunking Protocol, and we are going to pick switches to do the VTP. So you can choose a switch of your choice. I decided to choose these switches for my work. So people, you can also choose one you think you are okay with. It doesn't mean you have a specific switch to do that job. You can go in for any of the Cisco switch to do that job. Now I have picked 3 switches. One is going to be my master, other is going to be my transparent and client, and another client. So I'm picking crossover cables. These are crossover cable. You can decide to choose any port you want to use as your as a trunk port for your work. So I have decided to choose this port for my work. Now let's get started. The first one is my master or the server. So I have entered the N, which is EN, which stands for enable. The conf T stands for configure terminal. Then I have to go in for first one, which is the Vtp domain. Now the domain name should reflect in all of the switches we are going to use as a trunk. So domain name, my domain name has been put over there, which is the networkmasters.com. You can choose any of your choice. Then Vtp mode. Vtp mode, I did a mistake over here, which I said client. No, I'm correcting it to server. So you can see Vtp mode is now in server mode. Then you create your LANs, your VLANs. I decided to do in Cisco. If you produce the first 2 letters, which is the only word in it, you can click on tab, it will just continue. So I have created my VLANs on my master. Then I'm creating a virtual trunking protocol, which will trunk all the VLANs to the client. So I'm creating my switch port mode trunk allowed. So do a trunk allowed, you specify the VLANs, also the VLANs you have created, which should pass through the trunk. I have decided to take VLANs from 10 to 40, which means all the VLANs I have created. Now I exit out of there. I do write. Do write means save. So I have my server, my client, my transparent switch. The work of the transparent switch is to pass on VLAN to the client, but it does not learn the VLAN. So that's the work of a transparent when under VTP. Let's move on. So the third one is our client. Our job, we are on course. Now let's configure this port. You go to the CLI, which is the command line interface. You can do this. We have a physical machine. You can do this using your console port. So the conf T, which is the configure terminal, as I earlier said. You have the VTP, which is the virtual trunking protocol. Domain name is networkmaster.com. You can choose to. One name should reflect in all of the switches. Please note that VTP mode client is in the client mode because we already have a server. So the other one is in the client mode. So whenever you get this error, you can click on Ctrl+Shift+6 to exit it. Ctrl+Shift+6 to do the exit. Now you can see the clients have learned the VLANs. Okay, we also have a Vtp domain, which is the same as the one in the server. Don't forget this. The VTP in the server, the VTP domain in the server must be the same domain in other switches. Okay, now let's move on. Okay, now we have finished the transparent. Now we are going back to the other clients. So you go to EN. As I earlier said, the full meaning of EN is enable, and the full meaning of conf T is configure terminal. Then we also make sure the VTP for the other client is also the same domain. So that's the networkmaster.com. Then the VTP mode is in the client mode. So we are setting that one to client mode. And you have to configure the interface to be a trunk. Now the most important thing over here is you can see we are only configuring the other only one face as a trunk, but to the other switches we are not doing that, because in Cisco by default the switch is in dynamic auto, and if you configure one side to be a trunk, another side is in the dynamic auto, you get a trunk, because they have the DTP, dynamic trunking protocol, which why the communication will go on, so that to change by itself to be in a trunk mode. Notice that trunk mode in other side and the dynamic auto in other side, you get a trunk. Okay, here you can see we are having some mismatching over here. It means we fail to do the domain name, because you can see the VTP domain mismatch. So the domain name we put over there was wrong, so we go back and do that correction as well. Okay, now we are allowing VLANs to pass through, so you have to allow the VLAN, you have to allow your VLANs to come through. Then let's go and correct the error. Okay, VTP, because it keep on prompting us that match of VTP domain. So domain, we are correcting it, and let's see what will happen. Okay, now done. So you can see now change state to app, so everything is working fine. Now whenever it's in the orange, it's in the listing mode, we are clicking on this one to fast forward the job, so that we can cross check and see if it's learning the VLANs from the master. Let's exit out of there. Let's do, when you are in the config mode, you can do show VLAN, and you can see it have learned the VLAN from the server. The transparent is just passing on the VLANs to the client, but not learning it. You just pass on. So this is how one can configure VTP on a switch. It helps a lot. If you have a lot of switches, it helps a lot. Thank you, subscribe, and bye bye.